The impossible demonstration. The Galactic Nexus Station hung like a massive jeweled spider web against the void of space, its crystalline architecture refracting starlight into countless colors across the spectrum. Inside the Grand Assembly Chamber, representatives from 27 different spacefaring civilizations gathered for the 532nd Galactic Alliance Summit. The chamber hummed with the soft murmur of translator devices and the occasional burst of synthesized laughter or expressions of dismay. Commander Maya Chen stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath before stepping into the chamber. As Earth's lead diplomat for this historic first formal meeting with the Galactic Alliance, she carried the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. Her dark uniform, adorned only with a simple Earth emblem, stood in stark contrast to the elaborate ceremonial garb of the other species. "Remember, Commander," came the voice of General Harris through her neural link. "Observe, participate, but do not reveal anything beyond the approved disclosure protocols." Maya acknowledged with a subtle nod that would be imperceptible to observers. At 35, she had risen quickly through the ranks of Earth's Unified Space Command. Her reputation built on equal parts diplomatic skill and an uncanny ability to read situations. What her file didn't mention, what only 12 people on Earth knew, was the real reason she had been selected for this mission. "The human representative may now approach the central podium," announced First Arbiter Klovex, a towering avian being whose iridescent feathers shimmered with each movement. Its voice, filtered through Maya's neural translator, sounded melodious despite the formal tone. Maya walked confidently toward the center of the chamber, feeling the gaze of hundreds of alien eyes upon her. Some curious, some dismissive, some openly hostile. Earth had been a subject of intense debate within the Alliance for decades, ever since humans had accidentally discovered an abandoned Alliance outpost on Mars and reverse-engineered enough technology to achieve interstellar travel. "We welcome Earth's representative," continued Klovex, though the slight pause before the word welcome wasn't lost on Maya. "Before we proceed with Earth's petition for observer status, the Vrexian Confederation has requested a technology demonstration relevant to security protocols." Maya's pulse quickened. This wasn't on the agenda. She maintained her composure, giving nothing away as a group of 7 Vrexians moved to the center of the chamber. The reptilian beings stood nearly 8 feet tall, their scaled skin catching the light with a metallic gleam. The lead Vrexian, distinguished by elaborate gold markings along its crest, stepped forward. "Distinguished members of the Alliance," the Vrexian's gravelly voice filled the chamber. "Before we consider admitting another primitive species into our ranks, we believe a demonstration is in order." Its vertically slitted eyes fixed on Maya. "Humans have achieved rudimentary space travel, yes, but they remain centuries behind even our most basic security technologies." The Vrexian raised a crystalline device, and with a flick of its clawed hand, activated it. A shimmering blue field materialized in the center of the chamber, approximately 10 feet in diameter. "This is a standard Vrexian phase shift barrier," the alien announced proudly. "The most basic of our protective technologies, yet entirely impenetrable to any material object. It operates by creating a quantum interference pattern that disrupts molecular bonds of any matter attempting to pass through it." Maya watched carefully as the Vrexian tossed a metal sphere toward the barrier. The sphere hit the shimmering field and disintegrated instantly, reduced to fine metallic powder that scattered across the floor. "As you can see," the Vrexian continued, "even simple projectiles cannot penetrate the field. More complex organisms." It made a gesture that Maya's translator interpreted as the equivalent of a dismissive smile. "Well, the results are considerably messier." General Harris's voice came through Maya's neural link again, urgent now. "This is a power play, Chen. They're trying to intimidate us publicly." Standard diplomatic response. "Acknowledge their technological superiority, but emphasize our potential for growth." Maya heard the words but was focused on the barrier. Something about it called to her, a subtle resonance that she could feel rather than see or hear. It was similar to what she had experienced during Project Quantum Echo tests back on Earth, but different in ways she couldn't articulate. The human representative is invited to examine our technology, the Vrexian said, its tone carrying unmistakable condescension. Though I advise caution, while we would not deliberately harm a diplomatic representative, accidents with primitive species do happen. Scattered laughter rippled through the chamber. Maya stepped forward, studying the barrier intently. The blue field pulsed with energy, creating patterns that seemed almost familiar to her trained eye. "Commander, proceed with caution," General Harris warned. "Visual examination only." But Maya had already made her decision. 7 years of training with Project Quantum Echo had prepared her for this moment, though she had never expected to reveal humanity's secret so soon or so dramatically. "Impressive technology," she said loudly enough for the entire chamber to hear. "Our scientists have theorized about phase shift barriers, but we haven't successfully implemented them yet." The Vrexian's crest flared slightly with pride. "As I said, your species is centuries away from such achievements." "Perhaps," Maya agreed with a slight smile. Then, before anyone could react, she stepped directly toward the barrier. Multiple aliens called out warnings. The Vrexian lunged forward, but too late. Maya Chen walked directly into the shimmering blue field, and through it, emerging on the other side completely unharmed. For 3 full seconds, the Grand Assembly chamber fell into absolute silence. Even the constant background hum of life support systems seemed to fade as every being present tried to process what they had just witnessed. Maya turned to face the assembly, standing inside the circle created by the barrier. Her expression remained calm, professional, but she couldn't completely hide the slight smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. The Vrexian representative stood frozen, its reptilian features locked in an expression that transcended species barriers. Pure shock. "Impossible," it finally hissed, its translator failing to mask the emotion in its voice. "The barrier is functioning correctly. This is some kind of trick." First Arbiter Kulvex's feathers had fluffed out to nearly twice their normal size. Maya's briefing on Alliance species told her this was a sign of extreme agitation or alarm. "Human representative," the Arbiter's voice had lost its melodious quality. "Please explain what we have just witnessed." "General, they're going completely off script," came an urgent voice through Maya's neural link. "Activate emergency protocol and withdraw immediately." Maya ignored the command. This moment was too important, too perfect. Humanity needed to establish itself as more than just another primitive species seeking the Alliance's approval. "Members of the Galactic Alliance," she said clearly, "Earth has long respected your advanced civilizations and technologies, but perhaps we are not quite as primitive as some have assumed." She walked back through the barrier again, this time from the inside out, with the same casual ease. Gasps and murmurs erupted throughout the chamber. The human passed through a quantum barrier, a floating jellyfish-like being exclaimed, its bioluminescent appendages flashing rapidly. "This violates established physical laws." The Vrexian representative had recovered enough to approach its device, checking readings with increasingly agitated movements. "The barrier is functioning at optimal levels," it declared. "This is impossible." Maya stood calmly as chaos erupted around her. Scientists from various species approached, some asking questions, others demanding explanations, still others insisting on immediate scans and tests. Security personnel formed a perimeter, though whether to protect her or contain her wasn't clear. Through her neural link, Maya could hear the frantic discussions among Earth's command team. General Harris was attempting to reach her, his voice tight with controlled anger and concern. "Commander Chen, you have directly violated mission parameters. The consequences of this unauthorized demonstration cannot be." Maya silently switched off the neural link. What was done was done. Humanity's greatest secret was now exposed, at least partially, and there would be no going back. First Arbiter Kulvex finally managed to restore order, its amplified voice cutting through the cacophony. "Silence. This session will come to order immediately." The chamber gradually quieted, though tension remained palpable in the air. "Human representative," the arbiter addressed Maya directly. "This demonstration raises serious questions about your species and the information you have provided to the Alliance." "First arbiter," Maya responded respectfully. "Earth has always intended to share our technological advances with the Alliance at the appropriate time. Today's demonstration merely accelerated that timeline." "This is not merely a question of technology," interjected an Exarian diplomat, its crystalline body structure glittering as it moved. "What we witnessed defies the understood laws of quantum physics. No biological organism should be able to pass through a phase shift barrier intact." Maya chose her next words carefully. "The universe often has more possibilities than we initially perceive." The Vryxian representative pushed forward aggressively. "This human must be detained for examination. If they possess technology that can neutralize our defensive systems, it represents a critical security threat to the entire Alliance." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber, and Maya realized the situation was rapidly spinning beyond her control. She could see Alliance security forces beginning to move toward her position. First Arbiter Klvex raised its wings for silence. "Commander Chen, in light of this unprecedented development, the Alliance Council requests your voluntary participation in a scientific assessment." "This is not a detention," the Arbiter emphasized, though Maya noted the security forces hadn't stopped their approach, "but a necessary precaution and opportunity for mutual understanding." Maya understood the diplomatic doublespeak perfectly well. She was being taken into custody, regardless of what they called it. She could resist, might even be able to escape given her unique abilities, but that would only confirm their fears about humanity. "I would be honored to participate in a scientific exchange," she replied formally. "Earth has always valued the pursuit of knowledge." The Arbiter's feathers relaxed slightly. "Very well. The human representative will be escorted to the Advanced Sciences Division. This assembly will reconvene once preliminary assessments have been completed." As Alliance security surrounded her, Maya finally reactivated her neural link. "Completely compromised the mission." "Commander Chen, respond immediately." General Harris's voice was tense with barely controlled fury. "Mission parameters have changed, General," Maya replied calmly as she was escorted from the chamber. "But not necessarily for the worse." "Explain yourself," he demanded. Maya watched as the diverse species of the Alliance parted before her, their expressions ranging from fear to awe to scientific curiosity. "They were never going to respect us as equals," she said quietly. "Now they have no choice but to take us seriously." As the doors to the Grand Assembly chamber closed behind her, Maya Chen prepared herself for what would come next. The scientific examination wouldn't reveal the full truth. Earth scientists had ensured that conventional scans would show nothing unusual about her biology. But this was just the beginning. Humanity had made its entrance onto the galactic stage in a way no one could ignore. Now came the hard part, revealing enough of their secret to secure Earth's position without exposing the full extent of what humans could do, or why they had developed these abilities in the first place. Because if the Alliance knew what was coming, what humanity had been preparing for in secret for over 2 decades, the diplomatic summit would be the least of their concerns. Humanity's secret. The examination chamber of the Advanced Sciences Division resembled a cross between an operating theater and a quantum physics laboratory. Sleek machines of alien design surrounded Maya Chen as she sat calmly on a raised platform at the center. For the past 6 hours, scientists from 7 different species had subjected her to every non-invasive scan in their considerable arsenal. "Remarkable," muttered Dr. Ziv Talis, the Illuvian chief scientist whose translucent blue skin revealed the complex network of neural pathways beneath. "Every test shows completely normal human biology, as documented in the Alliance database." The Vryxian scientist, whose name translated as something like Scale Pattern 7, made a dismissive gesture. "The equipment must be malfunctioning. No organic being could pass through a phase shift barrier without molecular disruption unless their quantum signature was somehow altered." Maya remained silent, watching the scientists debate. Her neural link had been disabled upon entering the facility, standard security protocol, they claimed, cutting her off from Earth Command. She was on her own, exactly as she had trained for. Perhaps, suggested a Meridian observer whose spherical body hovered slightly above the floor, we are asking the wrong questions. Instead of how the human passed through the barrier, we should ask why humans possess this ability when no other known species does. Maya finally spoke. May I offer a perspective? The scientists turned to her, some startled as if they had forgotten she could speak. Please do, Commander Chen, Dr. Zivtalis said, more courteous than the others had been. Your scans show normal human biology because I am a normal human, Maya stated simply. What happened at the demonstration isn't the result of technology we're hiding or genetic modifications. Impossible, the Phyrexian scientist hissed. You expect us to believe humans naturally evolved the ability to ignore fundamental quantum laws. Not exactly, Maya replied. But consciousness interacts with quantum systems in ways science is only beginning to understand. My government is prepared to share our research on this subject, research that began decades ago when we first discovered the ruins on Mars. The mention of the Mars ruins caused an immediate reaction. The scientists exchanged glances, and Dr. Zivtalis stepped closer. What exactly did you find in those ruins that led to this ability? The Illuvian asked. Maya closed her eyes briefly, remembering the classified files she had studied, the history that so few humans knew. It wasn't what we found, she said carefully. It was what was missing. 22 years earlier, Dr. Eleanor Wright stood in the dusty confines of what would later be designated Mars Anomaly Site Alpha, her headlamp illuminating ancient symbols etched into metallic walls that shouldn't have existed. As the lead archaeologist on humanity's first manned Mars mission, she had expected to find geological features, perhaps microbial evidence of ancient life. Instead, they had discovered this, a structure clearly built by intelligent beings, buried beneath the Martian surface for what carbon dating would later suggest was over 30,000 years. Eleanor, you need to see this, called her colleague, Dr. Takashi Yamamoto. His voice, transmitted through the comm system of their expedition suits, contained an edge of excitement she had never heard from the normally reserved physicist. She made her way through the winding corridor to a large circular chamber where Takashi stood before what appeared to be a control panel of some kind. It's still active, he said without preamble. Minimal power, but definitely functioning. Eleanor stared at the faintly glowing symbols. That's impossible. After all this time, that's not the impossible part, Takashi continued, gesturing to readings on his handheld scanner. This technology, it's not just advanced, Eleanor. It's wrong. Wrong how? The quantum signatures are unlike anything in our theoretical models. It's as if whoever built this was operating with an entirely different understanding of physics. And look at this. He pointed to a specific section of the panel where a circular depression was evident. Something's been removed. Something important. Over the following months, as the discovery was kept classified at the highest levels, more research teams arrived. They discovered that the Mars facility had been an outpost of what they would later learn was the precursor to the current Galactic Alliance. More importantly, they discovered that the outpost had housed something called a phase shift core, a device that had been carefully removed before the facility was abandoned. The breakthrough came not from the technology they found, but from the data they recovered. Fragmented records indicated that the phase shift core had been deemed too dangerous after unexpected interactions with primitive sentient species. The records were incomplete, but one thing became clear. When exposed to phase shift energy, something unusual had happened with these unidentified primitives. Dr. Wright had a theory, one that would reshape humanity's future and set them on a path the Alliance had never anticipated. What if it was us? She proposed to the assembled scientists and military officials. What if early humans were those primitive sentients? What if something about our neurological structure allows for unique interactions with phase shift technology? Project Quantum Echo was born from this hypothesis. In absolute secrecy, scientists began experimenting with synthetic phase shift fields, testing human volunteers for any signs of unusual interaction. Most showed nothing, but approximately 1 in 10,000 humans demonstrated a startling ability. With training, they could perceive the quantum structure of the fields, and a tiny fraction of those could learn to manipulate their own quantum signature to pass through them. Like Maya Chen. The Mars outpost contained records of experiments, Maya explained to the alien scientists. Experiments involving early humans and phase shift technology. Your ancestors, or perhaps members of other Alliance species, discovered something unusual about human consciousness, something that frightened them enough to abandon the research and remove all phase shift technology from Earth's vicinity. The scientists stared at her in stunned silence. Finally, Dr. Zivtalis spoke. If what you're suggesting is true, this would rewrite our understanding of Alliance history. There are no records of such experiments. Perhaps they were deliberately erased, Maya suggested. Our researchers believe humans were considered too primitive to be a concern, but something about our potential alarmed your predecessors. The Vrexian scientist made a sharp, dismissive gesture. Convenient claims that cannot be verified. I demand a more intensive examination of this human's neural structure. Before anyone could respond, an alarm blared through the facility. Red lights pulsed along the corridors, and a computerized voice began repeating an alert in multiple languages. Security breach in Sector 7. Unknown energy signature detected. All personnel evacuate immediately. The scientists reacted with professional urgency, gathering data tablets and securing equipment. 2 security officers entered the examination room. We need to move to secure locations, one announced, including the human subject. Maya remained seated, her expression suddenly distant. It's here, she whispered. Dr. Zivtalis paused in the midst of gathering research materials. What's here, Commander Chen? The reason we developed these abilities, Maya said, rising to her feet. The reason your ancestors fled Mars. The thing that's been hunting phase shift technology across the galaxy for millennia. As if in response to her words, the lights throughout the facility flickered. The door to the examination room sealed shut automatically, emergency protocols engaging. What is she talking about? Demanded the Vrexian scientist, turning to Dr. Zivtalis. Before the Illuvian could respond, one of the monitoring screens shifted to display security footage from another section of the facility. The images showed a corridor where a shimmering distortion was spreading across the walls, floor, and ceiling, like reality itself was being unraveled. Where the distortion passed, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving behind nothing but empty space. What is that? Whispered one of the security officers, their professional demeanor cracking. We call it a phase hunter, Maya said grimly. An entity that exists partially outside normal spacetime, drawn to phase shift energy. Your barrier demonstration activated it. We've been tracking one near Alliance space for months. Dr. Zivtalis turned to Maya, their neural pathways visibly pulsing with accelerated activity. You knew this would happen. This was all planned. Maya shook her head. Not planned. But we suspected it might. Earth has been preparing for this encounter for years. The security footage showed the distortion moving steadily closer to their location, consuming everything in its path. The security officers drew weapons that Maya suspected would be completely useless. The phase shift technology you're so proud of, she continued. It's like a beacon to these entities. That's why your ancestors removed all trace of it from Earth's solar system, not to keep the technology from us, but to protect us. If what you're saying is true, Dr. Zivtalis said urgently, how do we stop it? You can't, Maya replied. Not with conventional weapons or shields. But I can. This is absurd, the Vrexian scientist hissed. You expect us to believe. The creature's advance suddenly accelerated. On the security screens, they watched it flow like liquid reality through sealed bulkheads as if they weren't there. "No time to argue," Maya said. "The hunter is drawn to the strongest phase shift energy signature. Right now, that's whatever is powering this research facility." "The primary quantum core," Dr. Ziv Talis confirmed. "3 levels below us." Maya nodded. "I need to get there. Now." The Illuvian scientist hesitated only briefly before making a decision. "Release her restraints," they ordered the security personnel. "Under what authority?" One officer began. "Under the authority of imminent death," Dr. Ziv Talis snapped. "Now do it." Moments later, Maya was racing through the corridors of the facility, guided by Dr. Ziv Talis. Evacuation protocols had engaged throughout the station, with personnel streaming toward escape pods and secure areas. "Why can you stop this, Hunter, when our weapons cannot?" the Illuvian asked as they hurried down an emergency stairwell. "Because of what your ancestors accidentally did to us," Maya explained between breaths. "Human consciousness can perceive phase space differently. Those of us with the strongest ability can actually manipulate it, push back against the hunter's intrusion into normal space." They reached a massive sealed door marked with warning symbols in multiple languages. "The core chamber," Dr. Ziv Talis said, pressing their palm against a security panel. "But I still don't understand what you plan to do." The door slid open, revealing a cavernous room dominated by a pulsating sphere of energy suspended within multiple containment fields. "The quantum core, the heart of the research facility's power system. Your barrier technology operates by creating a dimensional fold," Maya said, approaching the core. "The hunter exploits that fold to cross into our reality. I'm going to give it something else to focus on, then collapse the fold while it's partially materialized. That would require precisely manipulating quantum fields at a level our most advanced technology cannot achieve," Dr. Ziv Talis objected. Maya turned to the scientist with a slight smile. "That's why your ancestors were so concerned about humans. This is what we can do." A violent tremor shook the facility. The lights flickered again, longer this time. "It's getting closer," Maya said. "You should evacuate now." To her surprise, the Illuvian stood firm. "I will remain. If what you're attempting is possible, it must be documented." Maya nodded, respecting the scientist's courage and curiosity. "Then stand back, and whatever happens, don't interfere." She approached the quantum core, feeling its energy washing over her. This was different from the simple barrier in the council chamber, exponentially more powerful and complex, but the underlying principles were the same. Maya closed her eyes, reaching out with her consciousness the way she had been trained. Years of practice at Project Quantum Echo had prepared her for this moment, perceiving reality not just as matter and energy, but as probability fields and quantum potentials. She could sense it now, the hunter moving through the station, a void in the fabric of reality, consuming everything in its path as it homed in on the powerful quantum signature of the core. And she could feel something else, a distant awareness from the entity, a hunger that was almost curious. Maya Chen began to alter her own quantum signature, making herself a beacon brighter than even the station's core. She became a lighthouse in phase space, calling to the hunter. "It's changing direction," Dr. Ziv Talis reported, watching a monitoring screen. "It's coming directly here, but faster than before." Maya didn't respond, her concentration absolute. In her mind's eye, she could see the multidimensional structure of reality around her, the points where our universe connected to others through quantum entanglement. The hunter existed in those connections, those impossibly thin spaces between dimensions. The chamber door buckled inward, though nothing visible had touched it. The air seemed to waver, like heat rising from hot pavement, as reality itself became unstable. "It's here," Dr. Ziv Talis whispered. The distortion entered the room, not flowing through the damaged door, but simply existing on both sides of it simultaneously. Up close, it was even more unsettling, an absence that moved with purpose, consuming matter not by destroying it, but by somehow removing its very possibility of existence. Maya opened her eyes, facing the hunter directly. To Dr. Zivtalis' amazement, the human woman began to glow with a subtle blue light, the same quantum signature as a phase shift barrier. The hunter paused, its formless presence focusing on Maya. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, human and extra-dimensional entity regarded each other across the gulf of entirely different realities. Then Maya Chen did what she had trained for years to accomplish. She didn't fight the hunter. She embraced it, extending her consciousness into the quantum field that connected them. Not as adversaries, but as different expressions of the same underlying reality. The blue glow around her intensified, spreading outward to encompass the hunter's distortion. Where they met, reality stabilized rather than unraveled. Impossible, Dr. Zivtalis breathed, neural pathways flashing with excitement and awe. Maya spoke, though her voice sounded distant, as if coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Not impossible, just forgotten. Your ancestors discovered this potential in humans, but they feared it. We've embraced it. The hunter's distortion began to contract, folding in on itself as Maya guided it back toward the dimensional boundary it had crossed. Not fighting it, not destroying it, simply showing it the way home. With a final pulse of blue energy that momentarily blinded Dr. Zivtalis, the hunter vanished. Reality snapped back into its proper configuration, the quantum fluctuations stabilizing throughout the chamber. Maya collapsed to her knees, physically exhausted but smiling. Commander Chen. Dr. Zivtalis approached cautiously. What did you do? I communicated with it, Maya said simply. The hunters aren't malevolent. They're curious. Phase shift technology creates quantum signatures similar to their home dimension. They follow these signatures, not understanding that their presence here destroys our reality. She stood shakily, accepting the scientist's offered support. I showed it what it was doing and guided it back across the dimensional boundary. This changes everything, Dr. Zivtalis said. The Alliance's understanding of phase technology, of human potential, of the hunters themselves. Maya nodded. That's why Earth has been developing these abilities in secret, not as weapons, but as communication tools. The hunters have been attracted to phase technology across the galaxy for millennia, causing destruction wherever they appear. We believe they're the reason your ancestors abandoned that technology near Earth. And now humans are the only species that can communicate with them, the Illuvian concluded. The only ones who can stop them from destroying our reality. Which is why, came a new voice from the chamber entrance, this demonstration was necessary, if somewhat earlier than planned. They turned to see First Arbiter Klovex standing in the damaged doorway, flanked by Alliance security personnel and several council members. The avian being's feathers were smooth now, its posture dignified. How long have you been there? Dr. Zivtalis asked. Long enough, the Arbiter replied. Long enough to understand why Earth has been so selective in what they've shared with us. Maya straightened, resuming her diplomatic posture despite her exhaustion. First Arbiter, on behalf of Earth, I apologize for the incomplete disclosure. We needed to be certain of our theories before bringing them to the Alliance. The Arbiter studied her with eyes that reflected wisdom accumulated over centuries, and needed to be certain of our reaction. It added, not without justification, it seems. The Vrexian representative pushed forward, its earlier arrogance notably diminished. The human saved the research facility, it acknowledged reluctantly, and potentially the entire station. More than that, Dr. Zivtalis interjected. Commander Chen has demonstrated an ability that could protect Alliance worlds from a threat we barely understood until now. First Arbiter Klovex raised a wing for silence. Commander Chen, your demonstration in the council chamber was certainly effective. I believe Earth's petition for observer status will need to be reconsidered. Observer status. The Meridian Councilor's spherical form pulsed with what Maya recognized as their equivalent of laughter. After this, I believe we should be discussing full membership and a leadership role in researching these hunters and the human abilities that can counter them. Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. The mission had been a gamble, revealing humanity's secret ability earlier than planned, but it had paid off better than they could have hoped. Earth would be honored to work alongside the Alliance, she said formally. There's much we can learn from each other. Indeed, agreed First Arbiter Klovex. Beginning with how many more humans share your particular talents, Commander. Maya smiled. Enough to make a difference, First Arbiter, and more being trained every day. As the group left the core chamber, Maya finally reactivated her neural link, which had never actually been disabled. Another small deception that had allowed her to maintain contact with Earth Command throughout the encounter. Mission accomplished, General, she subvocalized. Phase 1 complete. Acknowledged, Commander, came General Harris' reply, his earlier anger replaced by something approaching respect. The Council is pleased. Phase 2 preparations are already underway. Maya glanced at the alien representatives walking ahead of her, discussing the implications of what they had witnessed. They still didn't understand the full scope of humanity's abilities or how extensive Earth's preparation for the hunters had become. But that would come in time. Today was about establishing humanity's place in the galactic community, not as supplicants seeking admission, but as equals bringing unique and valuable capabilities to the table. The universe is full of boundaries, Maya thought as she followed the Alliance representatives toward a new future, some physical, some political, some perceptual. Humanity's gift is seeing beyond them and walking through like they were nothing at all.